Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Duke and Dutch Show. We have a great episode for you today. From Title IX being violated in California all the way to the Olympics, to a terrible, insidious terrorist attack that was just conducted in Boulder, Colorado. But first, once again, because it is the story of the month, we need to talk about the mental decline of Joe Biden and all the people who are covering it up. Now, they're pretty much... Oh, sorry about that. Duke, how are you doing today?
Good, not bad. Yeah, don't mind me over here. Just enjoying the nice weather over here in Berks County, PA. How about yourself, Dutch?
Well, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. All right. So, no, but it's nice. I was like, 60 degrees outside. I think it's finally warming up, which is and it's finally June.
A couple days of nice warm weather.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to it.
Summer is on the way. So our first story we're going to get into is the decline of Joe Biden, and it seems like there's two camps to this, or so I thought. There is a camp that says, listen, we knew about it and we covered it up. And there's a camp that says, well, on the Democrat side anyway, we knew about it, we covered it up. And there's a camp that says we had no idea. And pretty much everybody who's on the conservative Republican side, yes, everybody knew about it, we could see it with our own eyes, yada, yada, yada. But there seems to be a new camp emerging on the Republican side, coming from the big man, the golden man, the orange man, Donald Trump himself. Posted to Truth Social, Donald Trump says, there is no Joe Biden. He was executed in 2020. Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Democrats don't know the difference. Now, I don't know if there's a whole lot of credence to this, but I have said on this program multiple times that I think the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 6 months. And we do know that in the past, actually, and probably even still in the present, that presidents do have body doubles. Everybody knows that. Now, whether Joe Biden's been replaced with a clone or robotics, it's hard to tell. But I'm going to play a clip here, and I'm not letting a whole lot of credence to this. I think it's just good humor. I think Trump loves to do a bit of trolling, as do I.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
He's pretty good at it. He's quite experienced and expert at it.
But watch this video and see if you think that this man is wearing a mask here. I don't know.
And he was a very conservative guy who was very, very...
Oh my gosh, that's a mask.
African American when he shot.
Holy cow.
He always had fight. Well, the key to success.
A mask.
That is kind of weird, huh?
Holy cow.
Now, he could just be an old guy with flabby skin. I know your skin gets looser as you get older, but moving on to this, I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out. Now, some of these are probably Biden doubles, but you can't tell me this guy really looks like... I'll zoom in. This guy up here doesn't really look like that guy down there. Nor does he look like this guy. I don't know. These are the many faces of Joe Biden.
He's just very good with his expressions. He has a lot of range.
He's got more range than Steve Buscemi does, in all honesty. And Steve Buscemi's got a lot of range with expressions. But yeah, I'm not gonna put too much credence into this. Trump likes to do a bit of trolling, but I wouldn't rule it out completely.
It's a bold statement to put out there, but yeah, like we already discussed slightly, he loves to troll, so can't always take it by fact. Like he'll let you know when it's 100% fact by
or maybe he
just a press conference.
Maybe he just has a penchant for the truth.
He's just trying to get the information out there.
That could be too. I don't know.
It's all about those lizards from the sewer. What? I'll stop there.
All right, so there is some news have come out. Biden hasn't made his first public appearance since his cancer diagnosis, and I want to be very clear, even though I do not like Joe Biden, I think he was a horrible man and a horrible president, and he did nothing when he was in, he was in the government for 50 years. Guy did absolutely nothing with his time there. However, I wish him the best. I hope he has a speedy recovery from this prostate cancer. And hopefully more news is going to come out if it covered it up. But we're going to see Biden here. He's making his first speech, or his first public appearance. It's not a speech, but yeah. And he's going to have the nice CNN folks softball him questions because that's what they do.
Well, the prognosis is good. You know, we're working on everything. It's moving along. So I feel good.
Have you decided on your treatment options?
Yeah, we have. And they're underway. And all the folks are very optimistic.
And so you've started treatment?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share what exactly that entails?
Well, it's all a matter of taking a pill, one particular pill, and for the next 6 weeks and then another one. And the expectation is we're going to be able to beat this. It's not in any organ. It's my bones are strong. I hadn't penetrated, so I'm feeling good.
And that's great. And I hope Biden does have a speedy recovery. But I'm just playing that to, give you his take on it, whether we can trust his take or not. I don't know. But now we're going to get into the hard-hitting questions from CNN about his mental acuity.
I feel like everybody expects. Sorry.
I've done it all because I'm loyal. I do it every damn year at the very beginning. I never forget where I came from.
Why does he do that? Do you ever know he gets in women's faces like that? He like burrows his nose up. It's like,
Yeah.
it's creepy, right? I mean, it's not just me.
I feel like it's a awkward intimidation tactic. Yeah.
I don't even know. Like, what could this woman possibly be feeling right now? I'm sure she's not feeling flattered. I'm sure she's like, get out of my personal space, guy. Like, why are you so close to me?
Yeah.
That's why.
I feel like everybody didn't know what to expect of you today, and then you get here and you're speaking powerfully. You look good. You're confident. What do you say to all those people? Don't count you out.
Well, I say lots of luck in their senior year.
What has this been like for your family? Obviously, this is also an emotional time. This is the 10-year anniversary of your son, Bo's passing. You received this diagnosis just 2 weeks before that.
Well, we're all optimistic about the diagnosis. Matter of fact, one of the leading surgeons in the world was working with me, and he had diagnosed with the same exact thing 32 years ago.
It's nice that he has access to the top quality medical care. It's just weird that he wouldn't have had access to that in the White House.
Probably wasn't an option. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not part of his HMO.
Probably not.
Alive and well, doing very well. So we're optimistic. We're optimistic.
And there's also been a lot of discussion recently about your mental and physical capabilities while you were in office.
You can see that. I'm mentally incompetent, and I can't walk, and I can beat the hell out of both of them.
Do you want to...
Let's go back to what he just said.
Capabilities while you were in office.
You can see that. I'm mentally incompetent, and I can't walk, and I can beat the hell out of both of them.
Now, you think that was sarcasm, or do you think he doesn't know what he's saying?
I think he could beat the hell out of both of them.
No, he said he's mentally incompetent and he can't walk. And yeah, he can beat the hell out of the two reporters, referring to Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, who wrote the book on him. But before that, he says he's mentally incompetent and he can't walk. It could be sarcasm.
It's sarcasm, but
could be. I don't know.
Delivery wasn't the best.
Do you want to reply to any of those reports, and also to the fact that there are some Democrats who are now questioning whether you should have run for re-election in the first place?
Why didn't they run against me then? Because I'd have beaten them.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't have any.
No, they didn't run against you because your party didn't hold an open primary. That's the reason, because you had already funneled about $350 million into you and Kamala Harris's coffers. That's and you didn't have an open primary. So that's you know what? I hate the media treats him like he's 5 years old. They do. They treat him with such kid gloves.
They give him quite a lot of soft.
I've never seen the media treat, like, I don't know, maybe
his status.
Maybe it is just a Democrat thing. I don't know, but they treat, and this is CNN obviously, so it's a fake news network, but should be FNN, fake news, it's fake news network.
Look, there's a lot going on, and I think we're in a really difficult moment, not only in American history, but in world history.
Insightful.
I think we're one of those inflection points in history, where the decisions we make in the next little bit are going to determine what things look like for the next 20 years.
Wow.
I've been talking about that for a long time.
The things that are going to happen now will determine what will happen in the future, is what he just said.
That's
Jeez.
that's really
I've read books I've read philosophies of Plato. I've read, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And I'm like,
I feel like Aristotle was just really laying down some verses there when he said
truly am. If he was mentoring Alexander the Great, I mean, I think he probably never would have got to the River Granicus. But let's continue.
And I'm very proud. I'll put my record as president against any president at all. You notice the 10 lady presidential historians rated me.
What did he just? The lady? What did he just say?
The 10 lady presidents historians. Maybe that's it.
You notice the 10 lady presidential historians rated me pretty good up on that list, and the guy I ran against, I rated him the last. So we'll see.
So you had
Watch me.
So he's saying, is he saying Trump is worse than all the lady presidents?
I don't know what organization he's talking about. Who knows what?
Nobody knows what he's talking. Nobody knows what's happening.
But apparently, Trump was voted the worst president, and he was voted somewhere in the top middle. That's what he says.
Have you ever?
Right.
This is something that came up during the election. So. I don't want to get too into it, but have you ever been polled, Duke?
No, nobody's ever.
I've never
asked
been polled
for a report. Yeah.
Do you know anybody in your life that has ever been polled?
I've never seen, heard, or had a conversation with anybody that says they were polled.
I mean, nobody. Maybe it's bought, but nobody's ever mentioned it to me. So I'm like, it's just kind of odd. Like, I mean, maybe I've never been polled. Maybe you've never been polled, but I don't know anybody who's ever been polled. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who's voting, which president was better and which one wasn't. Who's the actual criteria? What's the criteria on that? But yeah.
You have your grandson with you today. What's it mean to have your family here and be able to look out at him while you're talking?
It feels good. Look, that's my son Bo's son, and Bo started coming here with me about the same age, and so it's he wanted to be where his dad had been and what he's doing. He just graduated from high school. He's going off to college in the fall, and I'm really proud of him. And he is the son of his father. So,
do you have anything to say to
It is normally how that works.
Okay, we heard for the first time.
And then CNN abruptly just cuts. I don't know why they just cut. I don't know if Biden had some super bad gaffe or it just seemed kind of an unnatural thing. They were still asking him questions, but...
That wasn't live. That was pre-recorded, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I don't think CNN would do anything live with Joe Biden. But moving on to Slick Willie, our 42nd president.
Yeah, something like that.
And he's going to explain how he and, the rest of the Democratic Party just, they didn't know about Biden.
Speaking of aging, there's this book that came out that talks about Joe Biden and the people around him seeing that he had cognitive and physical decline. Did you ever have a moment with him where you thought maybe he was unfit to run for president? No.
I thought he was a good president. The only concern I thought he had to deal with was, could anybody do that job until they were 86? And we'd had several long talks. I had never seen him and walked away thinking he can't do this anymore. He was always on top of his brief.
You never saw any cognitive decline?
So...
We do know Bill Clinton would never lie about anything. He is an arbiter of honesty.
He's usually a man of his word, yeah.
I didn't know anything about any of this, and I haven't read the book. I saw President Biden not very long ago, and I thought he was in good shape. But the book didn't register with me because I never saw him that way.
Why didn't you read the book?
I didn't want to, because he's not president anymore.
Well, so we got to put it behind us.
It's not true.
Well,
if you don't read it, it's not true too.
Well, I'm on Bill's side with this. I wouldn't buy Jake Tapper's book. We're gonna get into Jake Tapper in a little bit, but yeah.
The rationality, it's like, okay.
What else is Bill Clinton gonna say? He's gonna throw his party under the bus? No.
Yeah, of course.
He's not gonna do that.
And I think he did a good job. And I think we are facing challenges today without precedent in our history. And
It'll affect the future.
It will.
some people are trying to use this as a way to blame him for the fact that Trump was reelected.
That's kind of like saying, well, if you go from point A, you might be able to get to point B if you follow the roadmap. But I guess, what can you expect from Slick Willie over here? He didn't have sexual relationships with that woman. He did not know that Joe Biden was mentally declining.
It wasn't obvious.
He has not been to Epstein Island. He is not on the flight logs. The fact that Epstein had a picture of Bill Clinton in a dress hanging in one of his rooms, that's purely coincidental.
Never met him. Yeah.
Well, we don't know until that stuff comes out. And it probably never will, because I think the FBI is scrubbing all that. They're gonna leak out something. They're gonna throw a couple people under the bus, but it's not gonna be anybody major.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the complete files. I'd be very surprised.
I'm going to just state this before we get into Jake Tapper here. Oh, no, we got to get into... Oh, this will lead us into Jake Tapper. But I think sometimes if the lie is so big that there are people who won't be able to handle it, it could tear at the very fabric of everything we do, think, and know. If these, so... I don't know. I still say you release the hounds, but... Jojo from Jers is one of my favorite Twitter activists. And you can see... I like Jake Tapper. I like Jake Tapper very much. Going to I love you, Jake Tapper. And after the book is published, Jake Tapper is an asshole. That's it. That's the tweet. Poor Jake Tapper now. He's getting a lot of, not so nice things said about him from the Democrats. But as he's going to explain to you here, Jake Tapper has always been nonpartisan. He's always been nonpartisan. He's never been on anybody's side, even though we know that CNN... at an 84% positive rating for Kamala and a 90% negative rating whenever they did any reporting. 84% positive Kamala, 90% negative for Donald. But he's nonpartisan. That's just his network.
I didn't vote for Biden or Trump. I can't stand either party, to be quite honest. That wasn't a bias of mine in terms of shaping my reporting. But what was shaping my reporting was, I think the fact that there were just a lot of people lying to us, and I should have just been more skeptical.
But that's you. That's you. Oh, I hate this guy.
About the fact that they were lying to us. But there were just so many people on the inside, and so many Democratic legislators and so many members of the cabinet.
He's never going to admit that. He's doing the Bill Clinton. I said there's two types of Democrats. We knew when we covered it up, or we didn't know. He's on the... I didn't know. I had no idea. I'm not that good of a journalist, God damn it. Leave me alone. I didn't know what I was
doing. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing.
And everything that were just completely gaslighting the country. I didn't...
Yes, that was you, Jake Tapper. Yes, it was you.
Yeah, 100% part of it, bro.
All right, here's another clip from him. We got a couple clips of Jake Tapper. I just want to make fun of him a little more. And then we're going to move on from this.
This brings me to your conclusion, which said Joe Biden is not Richard Nixon. The hiding and the cover-up of his deterioration is not Watergate. I'm not entirely sure I agree, Jake, with that conclusion. I'm not entirely sure.
The next line is it is an entirely separate scandal. It is a scandal.
Yes,
it is. Yep. It is without question, and maybe even worse than Watergate in some ways.
Right.
I think it's worse than Watergate in almost every way. What did Nixon do? He wiretapped a building?
Yeah, no, this is 100% worse. We're talking somebody else that was not elected to office was running the country for however long, if not the whole 4 years that he was in office.
Because Richard Nixon was in control of his faculties when he wasn't drinking. And, the idea that... Yeah, we don't mean to exonerate. The only reason that we have the Watergate thing is there because we quote Archibald Cox, who was a Watergate investigator, talking about how powerful the presidency is and how presidents get surrounded by people who have a vested interest in keeping that president propped up. So that's the only reason we invoke Watergate, is just to make clear, it's not Watergate. Right. This is an entirely separate scandal, maybe even worse. I
would 100% say worse, 100% worse than Watergate.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a debate. It definitely is worse.
I mean, with the Patriot Act, I mean, the whole country literally has been wiretapped with the Patriot Act. So what Nixon wiretapped a building, which obviously was unethical. He should not have done it. There was no cover-up of his cognitive decline. As far as I know, Nixon wasn't cognitively declining.
Maybe even worse.
And plus, the Watergate scandal too could be limited to a few. I don't know how many people, because I don't know that much about Watergate. But I mean, I guarantee you, more people knew about Watergate. And actually, back then we had journalists who would expose it no matter what. Yeah. Now we don't have that anymore. There is no more Walter Cronkite. So
this is more than just one organization covering something up. This is the organization covering it up, and then other organizations covering up for that organization.
Oh, they're covering
this. This is huge.
Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest scandals that we know about in American history.
That has come to light. Yeah.
Yeah, I think arguably it is worse, actually.
True, Piers. True. I don't know. I agree with Piers about half the time. In all honesty, Piers, sometimes he's got good takes, he's got bad takes. I think we got one more clip here from Jake Tapper. He's going to explain how he didn't write this book for money. He did it to tell the truth. Nobody writes books for money. No, I wrote a book once. I actually didn't write it for money. I did it as like a hobby thing. But if you're going to get into something like this, you're definitely writing it to make money. And apparently his book sales aren't doing too well. He's only sold 53,000 copies in the first week. Which, hey, you give it to him, that's more books than I ever sold with mine. I got to give it to that. But at the same time, for somebody of his status, for somebody of his status and the scandal that this actually takes up, and I think if this book was written by somebody else who wasn't Jake Tapper, who wasn't involved in the cover-up, it would sold a lot better. But people don't like this guy's hypocrisy.
It'd be on the top list. Oh, for sure.
It's very people don't like him.
People don't want to support Jake Tapper.
No, they don't, because they're like,
people aren't buying it. People don't want to support him.
You were part of this cover-up, and now you're
because of the message that he's sending. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
In terms of the left, it's a money grab. I mean, that's not the case. It's not. This is. I don't want to get into where my money comes from, but I'm, CNN is my main job, and that's where my main source of income by far. Very few people write books to make money. You write a book because you want to say something.
I think a lot of people write books to make money. I'm just saying. Especially if you're Jake Tapper and you're latching onto this scandal, you're definitely doing it to make money. And maybe you're doing it so you can distance yourself from your horrible reporting over the past 4 years and the whole cover-up. And they're saying, I didn't do it. But you're either a liar or incompetent. And I will not stand for it either way. Why was this hidden?
You want to have a legacy. You want to uncover something. You have a message you want to get out there. I don't think people write books about Joe Biden to make money. We are.
Oh, they definitely do.
Gratified that people are buying this book.
That's a good point.
But I don't think. Point? I mean, the idea that I would do this for money is it's silly and not true.
If you believe that, Jake Tapper, if I'm to believe you, I know because I wrote a book, and I know you can get yourself in the Amazon Partner Program, and you can actually release your book for free. So. If what you're saying is true and you don't want to make money, you simply want to tell people the facts and tell people the truth, you could upload this book exclusively to Amazon. I mean, you can still, if you're going to sell physical copies, I understand, then you have to make money because you are actually producing something. So you want to make the money back on, the paper, the covers, the ink, all that. I get that. Okay, fine. But if what you say is true, you should be able to release a digital copy for nothing. Give it to the public for free. You want the people to know the truth, Jake Tapper.
Out there, give it free. Yeah, you don't need to make money off of it. Correct?
But for some reason he's not doing that. It's odd. It's almost like you're lying. But he wouldn't.
I'm just pulling the Jake. Know it was an option.
Yeah, he probably didn't realize that you could release something for free.
Yeah.
Because if you ever try to put something up on Amazon or at least a book, you can give it out for free. At least, the ebook, obviously, like I said, physical copy, that's a little bit different. You're not going to lose money on a product. And if you're going to do ink and paper and the cover and all that, I get that. But you can do an ebook. It would cost everybody nothing to download. Give it to the people out. But you didn't do that. It's weird.
Big tap. I'm just asking the questions the people want to know. That's where we are with this.
Yeah, Stephen A. might run for president too, apparently. Let's see here. Yeah, I had this clip too. I don't think it's really relevant. We're gonna skip past this. I wanted to come to this last thing, and we're going off of the Biden thing. I know a lot of people are probably sick of it. It's the story of the month. It's probably one of the biggest scandals in recent history. We got to keep talking about it. But Byron Donalds here is really gonna lay into Biden here and be like, hey, Autopen and all the failed withdrawal in Afghanistan and everything like that. It's like the people want to know if you were really in charge, and I think the people deserve to know. Also, Byron Donalds might be, I think he might be running for governor of Florida. I think he might be going up against DeSantis' wife. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure when that is set to kick off.
How many things happened during his presidency? We have to know the details of how far somebody else has been making the decision.
Yeah, we would hope, right? If there was any transparency or any honesty, maybe Jake Tapper will give his book out for free. Maybe he's just not at that.
So many things are now being called into question. Did he even know about these pardons that they did on their way out the door?
Probably
these
not.
Preemptive pardons. Did he know? What did he know around what was happening on October 7th to our ally Israel? What did he actually know? What was he comprehending when it was the withdrawal of Afghanistan? What about the start of the Ukraine war where Russia invaded Ukraine? What was his mental fitness and capability? You got to understand, even during those times a couple years ago, Joe Biden was not having a lot of meetings with people outside of the small bubble in the White House. So as far as I'm concerned, our investigation needs to cover every year of that presidency, because we have to get to the bottom of, was the president actually capable of doing his job? If it becomes clear that he was not mentally fit, then the secondary question is, does it invalidate a lot of the orders that were issued under this administration and potentially some legislation that was signed as well?
Oh, 100%, Byron.
Yeah. I feel like that shouldn't even be a question at this point. It absolutely undermines it all.
Well, I think he's leading with that. Byron Donalds might be the governor of Florida pretty soon. Once DeSantis' term is up, I know DeSantis' wife wants to run. And I don't know. I think, as much as I dislike Florida, I already told you how I dislike Florida. Not its policies, not its governance, because I think it's honestly a pretty good place to live. But I don't know. I don't like the climate so much, really. But I don't know if I could live in Florida. Plus, they got
quite humid.
They got like gators down there and stuff. I feel like I'd always be like, well, I don't know. But that's neither here nor there.
Snakes, everything, yeah, geckos.
Oh no, and I say that I'm actually, I'll be in Florida next week, so I gotta
enjoy. Say hi to all the crocodiles.
I definitely will. Like I said, I don't like. I don't know if you've ever been to Disney World. I don't like Disney World. It's such a tourist trap. But luckily, I'm not going there. I'm going to visit family. So.
Yeah, I would hate to stand in line after line after line.
Oh
anyway,
my God,
let's get back to the
terrible.
topic. Are we done with good old Biden?
Yes. This is we're putting Biden out the pasture. So I know we keep going on and on about it. Oh.
Let's make sure we like and share, and let us know what you thought about that segment. What do you think? What's going on with the presidency?
Well, I think it's in good hands right now, but yeah, that doesn't mean we shouldn't go back the next 4 years. But all right, so this is a story that just came out yesterday. There was a pro-Israel protest, and there was a person who pretty much committed an act of terror by showing up with a flamethrower and Molotov cocktails. Now, I don't know if I can show this. This is a pretty tame video, but there are more graphic ones. This is from a further distance. You can see there's like smoke in the area. There's people frantic. I don't know if this guy, he's helping somebody on the ground over here. Oh yeah, hold on, I can't show that. There's somebody on fire. I'm sorry, people. We can't show that on YouTube, and I don't want to show people who are in suffering or doing anything like that. So my apologies.
It's sad this has happened. I'm sorry for anybody going through this or have a family member or friend going through.
Well, I mean,
that happened over there. It's
terrible, really. I mean, this happened Boulder, Colorado, between 13th Street and Pearl Street, or at the injunction of it, or something like that, at a planned protest that I guess they do every week or something like that. So this was a setup thing. Obviously, this person who did this, who we're going to get into in a little bit, they knew that this was going to go on because I guess it takes place every week or every weekday, or weekend on Sunday. And this is becoming sadly an all too common thing in America. I think we reported, what was it, last week, about that couple in D.C. who was killed at the Holocaust Museum for just being Jewish, essentially. And the whole radicalization of really our entire nation is concerning. But this was NBC. They're going to report on this. They did a short clip. Of course, they got it wrong, but that's MSNBC for you.
Investigation itself, we're still trying to verify and confirm some video, but it appears to show a significant portion of the incident as it happened. There's an individual that's taken into custody. He's a white male. Whether or not that's the person that police ultimately arrested and will ultimately...
So he's a white male. All right. White male, white male. Well, it turns out he is not a white male. It turns out he's a Muslim. His name is Muhammad Solomon. Islam is to a society that would cancers to the body. I don't agree with that. I shouldn't have read that out loud. But he's an Egyptian nationalist. He actually came over here. I think he had a flight into LAX on a visa in 2022, and his visa expired. And he just never had to go home. And for some reason, he's probably been radicalized, whether it's back home or here in the States or whatever, to really, lash out against the pro-Israel movement here, which I am, And, he was arrested. He was apparently yelling "Free Palestine." He was, death to Zionists and whatnot. And so this guy, Muhammad Solomon, has been completely...
His message is his message, but I think the more pressing thing is, why did MSNBC say he was a white male when it clearly wasn't?
They wouldn't have reported on it if it wasn't a white male. So the fact that somebody actually got them to say it was a white male probably made them investigate it.
Another example of our...
They're probably going to shut it down now. So,
but anyway, another immigrant that was past his visa, and we didn't take him apparently when his visa was expired, and now has committed atrocities on our land and injured our citizens. So that's cool.
Breaking Boulder terror suspect Mohammed Sabri Solomon is an illegal immigrant from Egypt who entered the U.S. under the Biden administration, 3 sources say. Get into this clip here. Losing control of my mouse.
And Paul, you have talked tonight quite a lot about wanting to know about who this individual is, what about his travel, what about his background. And we can break to our viewers now, per 3 senior DHS and ICE sources to Fox, according to our colleague Bill Malusian doing some great work, that he is an Egyptian national who is in the U.S. illegally because of a visa overstay, who came during the Biden administration. Mohammed Sabri Solomon first flew into the U.S., according to these 3 sources of the DHS and ICE, flew into the U.S. on August of 2022 at LAX. He was authorized to stay through 2023, but never left. A little bit of more details coming in.
And the problem with this is, too, there's so many people who are let in from the Biden administration that we don't have the resources to possibly keep track of all these people. I mean,
know their current whereabouts.
It's an estimated we don't know the exact number, but it's estimated 10 to sometimes people say upwards of maybe 25 million people are here illegally. There's no way any agency could keep track of all these people. So now you got to go through the painstaking process, and now you got to track them all down again.
But look, the reason why we need to figure out this issue with immigration and get rid of the people that we need to get rid of, especially the risks, is this. We need to stop our citizens getting hurt, getting unalived. There's how many casualties from this event?
I'm not sure if they don't have a list yet of I know there's
however many, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, whatever it is. Those lives could have been prevented if that person was forced to leave when his visa expired.
Well, 11 people have been injured, and even if there are no deaths, I think there is one confirmed person who did pass away. But even if there aren't, I mean, you get set on fire, your life is profoundly going to be changed.
This is why we need to get people that are not here legally out of this country. I come from an immigrant family, but the risk that it currently poses to America is way too high to keep ignoring the issue.
Well, I don't think anybody has a problem with immigration. I think people just want you to immigrate legally. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So people are vetted properly.
That's really what it's all about.
And
we have to vet so that we stop allowing people in this country that do these types of things.
Into this, but
this is just awful, and I hope
it's all, and it keeps happening. It's like we had an act of terrorism, like I said, in D.C. last weekend.
Would stop.
You were very interested to learn as much as you can about Solomon's background.
Yeah, and so obviously one of the talking points is going to be the fact that he would not have been here and should not have been here if we were actually enforcing our immigration laws. I think for the purposes of the investigation now and the prosecution and what charges are brought, et cetera, what they're going to be particularly interested in is any of the contacts that he had back home. He's here now. It's about 3 years. Still.
It says, as of this report, which I think was, this is probably about 12 hours old. This was from last night. It says 6 victims, ages 67 to 88, hospitalized in Boulder, Colorado attack.
Well, he was right on the nail. Like as soon as you started playing it again, this person shouldn't have been here. If the laws were followed properly about immigration, this person shouldn't have been here. These people should have never gotten hurt.
Ages 67 to 88. Isn't that interesting? I said this the other day, too. You remember me saying this? I said, everybody who's protesting is always old.
Yep.
It's weird.
It's weird how that works.
That's neither here nor there, really, with that. That's just a little tidbit. But yeah,
it's another topic, but yeah.
Any conversations he had back then may or may not be pertinent, but was he reaching back home? Was he in contact with bad elements overseas? These are the things that those U.S. attorneys...
Or was he radicalized here?
Press conference and the DA.
Because we do know that there are a lot of people, I mean, there are online influencer or radicalized people, the CNN, MSNBC. You can get radicalized basically from everywhere.
It happens everywhere, yeah.
They're going to be looking at very hard so they can figure which way to go with this investigation. And look, this guy's going to be heavily charged. Where in a way, it almost doesn't matter. He's going to be heavily charged. He's going to be locked up for life. What we really need to do is to look at why it happened, how it happened. Those are the things that are really more important. And actually, some of them are outside the purview of investigators and the police. And the fact that we have the stuff going on these campuses and that the administrations, whether it's Columbia or Harvard or any of them, seem to just shrug. These are the things that I think as a society, more importantly, we have to be looking at.
And officials saying that this cannot happen, will not happen. Again, Paul Morrow, former NYPD inspector and Fox.
Well, unfortunately, it probably will happen again. And I think this goes back to, didn't we, maybe it was last week or maybe it was a week before that. It was Marco Rubio who went before Congress, and they were being asked, they're like, well, you're going to kick people out of here for protesting? It's like, well, if they're on visas, yeah. They should be kicked out for protesting. It's like, a visa is not a right. And, you're supposed to come here, you're supposed to follow our laws, and a lot of people don't do that. They have access to a visa, they feel like they can't get kicked out of the country. I mean, if you don't want to be here, then don't be here.
Yeah. We can revoke that visa and help you with that.
Exactly. So this is going to be from FBI Denver Special Agent Mark Michalek, who I guess is in charge of this. He's going to explain a little bit more about what happened.
The FBI shares in the sorrow of the Boulder community, especially to those who have family or friends injured in this tragedy. We have surged resources and personnel to the scene. Our special agents, our victim specialists, and evidence response teams are doing everything they can to assist our law enforcement partners. In the coming days, we will continue to support the victims and help uncover the events leading up to this terrible attack. Know that we stand with you, we grieve with you, and we are here to help for as long as it takes. We're early in the investigation, but some details have emerged. I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported to local hospitals. This attack happened at a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device.
That's crazy.
At the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack.
No, someone who's been radicalized.
The subject has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon.
And listen, I understand the Israel versus Palestine debate is a very contentious and hot topic. And I know a lot of people really do feel like Israel has gone way too far with the bombing of innocent people in Gaza. But you have to think what would be the result of then going to a protest and bombing people. It's like, it's not going to help anything. It's just going to make whatever side you want to be on look more out of control, look more crazy, and it's going to draw sympathy away from the people that you're trying to prop up or you're trying to speak out for. That's just my opinion on that.
You're creating more chaos for the crisis. That's all. It doesn't help.
And he's 45 years old. The FBI is processing the crime scene in the subject vehicle and interviewing key witnesses. We're assisting Boulder police in providing technical, analytic, and additional forensic resources. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism. Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country. This is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities across our nation. It's our job, the FBI, the Boulder police, and our law enforcement and community partners, to bring these criminals to justice and keep our communities safe. We're asking for the public's help as we continue to investigate this horrific act of violence. I'll direct anyone that has phone calls, that wants to make phone calls to 1-800-CALL-FBI. And if you have digital evidence, whether that is video or social media posts or anything that can help the investigators, please send that to fbi.gov/BoulderAttack, BOULDERATTACK.
And I don't know how much that's going to matter. I mean, you can get, outside information on this guy, like the guy in the previous clip said when he was on Fox News. But it's kind of outside the purview of the investigation, and no matter how this guy got radicalized, obviously he was radicalized, and what happened happened. So, and he's probably going to go to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But
I'd be surprised if he had any higher end-up context, but you never know. I would definitely hope they do their due diligence and check.
I'm sure they, I'm sure with this, especially if it's going to be labeled as an act of domestic terrorism, that's got to be looked into for sure.
Our strength as a society comes from our shared values and our commitment to protecting one another. Any attempt to divide us through fear or harm has no place in Boulder, in Colorado, or anywhere in our nation. We stand in full solidarity with those targeted.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I mean, ever since Trump ran for office, there has been a campaign to split this country down the middle and divide it. You can watch election breakdown results of people sobbing because their parents or their brother or their sister or somebody they knew, their friends, voted for Trump. And they're like, I have to disassociate. I mean, I've never seen the country so divided in my entire life. I don't know if it's ever been this divided, but it's because of this brainwashing from MSNBC and CNN and these liberal media who are saying, listen, if you know anybody who's voting for Trump, they're Nazis, they're Hitler. It's obviously you can have political disagreements with people. I've never ended a friendship over having political disagreements with people, but I've had friends be like, I can't associate with you anymore because you're supporting Trump. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, hey, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I'm not going to beg for your friendship, but I think it is utterly ridiculous. But hey,
it shouldn't. Whoever's political views, depending on certain situations, obviously, shouldn't affect how
it shouldn't. But
personal interactions.
But what I'm saying is, it's everybody has been radicalized to some degree because of the fear mongering in the media, the fear mongering online in spaces, like Twitter or like
They demonize even the thought of
if you're
aligning yourself with this side, and it's just
if you're going to demonize people, then you're not going to view them. I mean, if you think that really how you vote is somehow an affront to like your existence as a person, like they always say, oh well, Trump's going to go after gay rights or he's going after abortion, which he hasn't done either of those things. But if that's what you've been told and that's what you believe, and then that's what you're going to stand on, and then you think somebody else is going to vote differently than you think they're personally attacking you. And I think really, this goes back to it goes back to the whole Jake Tapper thing as well, and that the media needs to be held accountable, and they're not.
They're the ones that build that mindset. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So we're gonna hear from an eyewitness guy here. I don't think he gave his name. That's fine. I don't want to, put him on blast, but he was here. He's gonna say a few things.
Still exists here, but it's different. Boulder has changed. Pearl Street has changed, and there's things, I see stuff all the time and I'm like, really? Now there's like security guards in front of the bathrooms so people don't smoke meth in the bathrooms. That's the truth. It's out there. It's dirtier than it used to be. It's not as safe as it used to be, but you don't expect to see it at that level.
What? Go. No. Right.
You can edit this stuff out. Like you don't have to talk about meth on.
Did you?
Well, we're talking about meth now, unfortunately, guys. So there you go.
Yeah, sorry.
Hold on. I just gotta. All right, readjust my screen. I had to scroll myself up so it wouldn't play the video at the top. But yeah. And I think what this guy's saying is kind of a sentiment that's being felt everywhere in America. That, yeah, America doesn't feel as safe. I don't want to go to a major city. I don't want to go to major events or be around a ton of people because you never know who's going to just start, popping off with a gun. And it's definitely a concern. It's definitely gotten a lot worse.
It's something you definitely have to worry about when traveling. Absolutely. Going to certain areas, certain towns.
Well, I would say, yeah, any major city, especially like liberal cities, which... And let's be honest here, most major cities are run by Democrats. That's just how it goes.
Typically, yeah.
Let's see here. So I had an interesting tweet here. I wanted to pull this up. It's from Asmongold. If you guys don't know who Asmongold is, I'm sure a lot of people do. He's like one of the biggest streamers probably in the world. I know he just partnered with Kick. I think he's going to start streaming on Twitch. But he's a Twitch streamer, especially... Or no, not Twitch, sorry, Twitter. He's going to start doing stuff on Twitter too, which will be interesting to see how that goes. But he's known for Twitch. And he, obviously him and Hassan Piker are kind of at political odds. But, so he responds to Kash Patel here. Kash says, we are aware of and fully investigating a targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. Our agents and local law enforcement are on the scene already, and we will share updates as more information becomes available. And so Asmongold responds, y'all really need to get on top of some of these people online. They promote this stuff and nothing ever happens to them. Reddit, TikTok, etc. Rationalizations for violence like this are everywhere online. And he's true.
Yeah.
Or he's true. Sorry,
I mean, it's a form of
he's
radicalization.
Right.
It's a source of radicalization.
It's the same thing with Hassan Piker. He does this all the time. He just America deserved 9/11 and yada yada yada. And it's like all you're doing is you're radicalizing people, whether you mean to or not. Which I think I have no idea.
There has to be some form of intent with those actions because there's no way you can't say that you don't know what you're doing with those statements.
Well, but it doesn't matter what they do because they're going to be protected by their platform. But that's the whole problem. You shouldn't be protected. I mean, you have terrorists on stream. You shouldn't be protected from that. Now, I'm not blaming Hassan Piker or anything like that. But I mean, would I say that him and the orbiters around him definitely lead to the radicalization of people? 100%, yeah. I actually think the guy in Washington, D.C. who committed that attack against those people from the Israeli embassy, he was a fan. Yeah, he was a fan of Hassan Piker. If you watch this guy, everything again, he loves communism, loves socialism. He hates everything America. He, obviously he hates Israel and all that. It's like, and that's fine. Have your opinions, but it's like, it goes too far. And there's no consequences, no pushback. So we're going to read here. This is from this morning. It says 8 injured in Colorado attack by man with makeshift flamethrower who yelled free Palestine. Boulder, Colorado, a man with a makeshift flamethrower yelled free Palestine and hurled an incendiary device into a group that had assembled to raise attention for Israeli hostages in Gaza. Law enforcement officials said Sunday 8 people were injured, some with burns. The suspect, Mohammed Sabri Suleiman, 45, was booked into the Boulder County Jail north of Denver and expected to face charges in connection with the attack the FBI was investigating as a terrorist act. Online records did not immediately show when he would make a court appearance. The burst of violence at the popular Pearl Street pedestrian mall, a 4-block area in downtown Boulder, unfolded against the backdrop of a war between Israel and Hamas that continues to inflame global tensions. Excuse me, and has contributed to a spike in anti-Semitic violence in the United States. The attack happened on the beginning of the Jewish holiday of, how do you say this, dude? Shabbat? Yeah. Which is marked with the reading of the Torah, and barely a week after a man who also yelled free Palestine, who was charged with fatally shooting 2 Israeli embassy staffers outside of a Jewish museum in Washington. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a statement Monday saying he, his wife, and the entire nation of Israel were praying for the full recovery of the people wounded in the vicious terror attack in Colorado. This attack was aimed against peaceful people who wished to express their solidarity with the hostages held by Hamas simply because they were Jews, Netanyahu said. And I have no sympathy for Netanyahu. I don't think what he's doing, I know it's a response to Hamas, the October 7th attacks and all that. But I think really, Israel is going too far with leveling Gaza, and there are a lot of innocent people caught up in it. And it's like like I said, this thing didn't start on October 7th. It started, back in 1948. And it's like, this isn't going to be solved by anyone getting radicalized. It's not going to be solved by anybody in America doing something crazy like this.
It's been an issue for many, many years.
And it's senseless, and it's a shame.
I don't really know what's
but
going to be the solution, but no matter what, as soon as one side stops, the other one starts. It happens over and over again.
I mean, they don't want. It doesn't seem like
They don't want to stop.
No, it doesn't.
Again, one side stops the war, then the other side starts. Whether it's immediately or a couple months down the road, like it's just tit for tat, and it's been like that for years and years and years. And I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
I would doubt it. I mean, like I don't think we're gonna stop her. I know who Greta Thunberg is. She's going to Gaza right now to try to break the siege, and I'm like, I know. Hey, best of luck to her.
They don't care about her, man. They could whatever.
No, I mean, best of luck to her if she wants to try to do that. But I'm like, I don't think you're gonna solve anything. I think if anything, you're gonna end up getting yourself entangled in something, and it's like it's not,
This issue is bigger than any one person.
But hey, she stopped talking about climate change, so I guess that's something. Like now it's all about free Gaza, so I don't have to hear you. I won't hear yap about something new. Here, I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. Can you take over from right up here, across the U.S.
Gotcha. All right. So the attack leads to increased security elsewhere. Not surprising. Across the U.S., the New York Police Department said it has upped its presence at religious sites throughout the city for Shabbat. Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country, said Mark Michelik, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Denver field office, which encompasses Boulder. There is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities across the nation. The 8 victims who were wounded range in age from 52 to 88. So relatively older people got injured during this incident, and the injuries spanned from serious to minor, officials stated. Spanned from serious to minor. The attack occurred as people with the volunteer group called Run for Their Lives was concluded their weekly demonstration to raise visibility for hostages who remain in Gaza. Video from the scene shows a witness shouting, "He's right there! He's throwing Molotov cocktails," quote unquote, as the police officer, with his gun drawn, advances on a bare-chested suspect who is holding containers in each hand. So it was pretty intense moment. Apparently he was out there. Are you back now?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it was. He was out there throwing Molotov cocktails and really harming quite a bit. Like the report stated, I believe the range of individuals was 52 to 88. So just like we've talked about in previous segments, a lot of protesters seem to be on the higher end of the age range. Typically, you're not seeing a lot of younger people. At least no one in this instance was young that was a victim of the attack. So at this point, I'm at the paragraph in the video scene captured.
Let's see. Alex Asante of San Diego said he was having lunch on a restaurant patio across the pedestrian mall. Heard the crash of a bottle breaking on the ground, a boom sound followed by the people yelling and screaming. In the video of the scene captured by Asante, people could be seen pouring water on a woman lying on the ground, who Asante said had caught on fire during the attack. A man who later identified himself as an Israeli visiting Boulder who decided to join the group that day ran up to Asante in the video asking for some water to help. Oh yeah, I believe, where is that? I think we play this, but I'm not going to play this. We're going to just go through the headline. Attacks leads to increased security elsewhere. Suspect reemerged after initial attack.
Yep, right there.
Authorities say they believe the suspect acted alone. And I got another article here.
He was radicalized. I mean, he was radicalized. How maybe by a news outlet, by maybe a personal social media influencer,
or maybe it's something just close and. I mean, it could be something close and near to dear to these people's hearts, I guess. But it's like I think really there is a lot of stuff that goes into people being radicalized. Yeah, from the media, from people online, and now
to get to a point where you're gonna hurt 8. And he was probably intending on hurting more than 8 individuals
definitely.
at the protest. I would think it's a little bit more, but I don't necessarily understand radicalization and how people get to that point, but that's sadly, I believe, what happened.
Well, we all are getting radicalized. Where some of us are just getting radicalized slower than others, but
yeah,
everybody is getting radicalized, and because everything you consume does change how you think. Either you're going to be like, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that. So whatever information you take in, but if all you're going to do is, like, I watched it happen to my grandfather, who's a very smart man, rest in peace to him. But he just sat, he was going through dialysis, like I said, and he just sat on the couch and he watched CNN all day. And then he was like, I hate Trump. And I was like, well, why? Why do you hate Trump? It's like, well, because the news told him to. That's why. And all you're watching is CNN, and all they do is 90% of the time they just bash Trump. So if you're going to see every day, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. And, he's an older guy. He doesn't, he's trusted the news his entire life. Why would they lie to him? So, of course,
it will absolutely condition your mind. Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't radicalized, I wouldn't say, but, to the point where he was like, I really believe Trump is a bad guy. And I'd say, Pop Up, I don't know why you think that. Like, he's like, well, I watch the news. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why, because you're not doing you're just getting your news source from one place. And then whatever they say, you believe. It's bad. You got to. It gets in that whole, you should consume media from different places, but also how much time does anybody actually really have to do that? A lot of the average person does not have the time to go and fact check this or that. They believe whatever the media says to them should be in good faith, and it should be, to their journalistic integrity, true. So anyway.
Sadly, the regular people everywhere need to understand, always fact check. If you hear something and you really believe it, fact check it.
Well, the problem is most people don't have the time to do that. Anyway, we're probably going to cover this story later on. Last little thing I wanted to pull up was...
Make sure you let us know what you thought of it.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say the FBI is raiding this guy's home, so we'll probably get more information about this. I don't think this story is going to go away. So we'll probably have more information on Wednesday. We'll see what else comes out. Or maybe we won't have it yet because maybe the FBI will, want to compile it and then release it to us. So we will see. But as Duke was saying, like and share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Moving on to our next topic, which is kind of our last two topics here. We have a young woman, I'll say, I guess, or a young lady, so they want to be called, the name of Abby Hernandez, who right now is crushing like women's track and field, like absolutely demolishing the competition because it's a biological male who is competing in women's sports. And this obviously, I think, obviously this is in violation of Title IX. Trump has already threatened to cut off California's, actually, I think every state's federal funding if they keep doing this, but obviously some states are still in opposition. They don't care. They think, hey, it doesn't really matter. Why should this be a concern? And I think it is a concern. One, it's unfair. We know there are biological differences between men and women. Two, it's taking every medal this person wins is taking an opportunity from another girl who has fought very hard to get to that spot and now is going to, be beaten out because they're competing against a man. If this wasn't an issue, we wouldn't have an NBA and a WNBA. It's pretty basic to me. So this person's getting a lot of criticism here. Abby Hernandez, AB won the triple jump as well as the high jump. He's the girls' state champion in 2 events. Congratulations to the real champ, Kira Grant Hatcher. Pretty soon, boys win all the girls' high school track titles in Dems states because boys are better girls than girls are. I would say that's, true statistically. Obviously.
What example we're setting, that's for
sure. Well, you can see right here, and I don't know exactly how to read this because I don't know really a whole lot about the triple jump varsity. I don't know a lot about track and field or any of that stuff, but it seems Abby Hernandez did get a further total than, Kira Grant Hatcher by, I don't know. Yeah, like quite a bit.
Feet. Actually, 2 feet.
Is that 2? Oh, yeah, 2 feet. Or about a foot and almost 2 feet.
Almost 2 feet, yeah.
And, this is a concerning thing to me, obviously, because I have a daughter. And it's like, I don't want her competing against biological boys. I don't want men in her, her changing rooms, in her bathrooms.
Yeah. All the typical concerns I've voiced on numerous shows previously. I don't want any male sharing any athletic space or private space with my daughter. No, thank you. Shouldn't be allowed. It's not fair.
This is where we get into the problem, because one, there is this odd thing, or maybe it's not odd, but it's this affirmation culture that basically if you're going to medically transition your kid to one gender or another, I kind of understand the philosophy behind it, because you are convincing your child that the world will accept them for the new person they become, correct? So then if the world doesn't accept them, you have to be like, well, I completely failed my kid. And I think there's a lot of, especially mothers, I'm not saying fathers can't do it, but I've only really seen one primary example of a father doing this. I see a lot more with mothers. It's Transhausen by proxy. So if you don't know anything about that, Munchausen syndrome by proxy is basically where, you know, the caretaker of a child, primarily the mother, is the one who kind of makes them sick so they can get attention. I don't know why you would do that or what the cause of it is exactly, but I really kind of believe that there's the Transhausen by proxy, as people say. So we're going to hear here from Angry Mom confronts the mother of A.B. Hernandez, a male athlete who has been allowed to dominate female track and field events in California, stealing athletic awards and opportunities from young women. These boys are being pushed by woke, narcissistic parents. Yes, Transhausen by proxy. I would 100% agree with that. But let's play the clip.
I'm going to listen. I don't have to. I have a right to speak truth. Boys are boys, girls are girls. This son does not belong competing against those girls, period. What a coward of a woman you are allowing that. What a coward telling telling girls to go and compete against a boy? How embarrassing. You're a mother. You're a mother. Stand up like a mother. I am a mother. I'm protecting girls. You want a boy. How many people support the boy competing against the girls? Nobody. Don't tell me to shut up. I was respectful to you. Okay. And you're not going to of course not. You're the one that
This, mind you, is in liberal loony land of California. So people in California are trying to stand up to this. You know the rest of the country's got to be fed up.
A real mom. No, you're not. You're a coward. Your mental illness is on your son, you coward.
Yep. So obviously not everybody is so happy about this. Apparently the girls that were actually competing against A.B. Hernandez actually were pretty okay with it. Although I think there is a lot of reason or societal pressure not to speak out against this stuff, because you'll get canceled, you'll get blacklisted, you'll probably be in trouble, you'll get thrown off the team. And I really think you brought up.
I've seen too many reports, sadly, of that example exactly happening. Like if you speak out about it, you're the one that's actually getting in trouble. You're the one that gets suspended all of a sudden.
Yeah, well,
how does that make sense? But okay.
And you brought up an interesting point before we started this thing, where you said there was an example of, I think I saw this, the fencer who refused to compete, and I think that really is what
That's how they should be handling this, honestly.
I think that's kind of.
This is what we're gonna do. If you're gonna force women to compete against men in a sport that they are clearly in advantage of, you know what? Forfeit. Set an example. Tell them, like, look, I'm not gonna parade this show that you are forcing us to parade. This is ridiculous.
I know, but you're still. The problem with that, though, is it's like, the girls get. It takes them so long to get there, and then it's like you got to forfeit your opportunity to make a political point when it's like, I just want to win this competition.
I mean, you could either have. I mean, yes, you could have a chance of beating him, but then, or realistically, 99% of the time, that boy is going to beat all the women and then win gold anyway. So, realistically, the statement says more.
No, I agree. That's what you have to do, but that can't. That for any young woman put in that position, that can't
awful.
be easy.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's a failure.
You work so hard. You put so much time in, so much sweat, so much blood, so much everything.
Well,
and for you to just have it not even taken away from you,
because everybody,
not even a choice.
Everybody in charge, everybody above you, everyone in the athletic association or whatever you're participating in, the sporting events, they've all failed you. They have all failed you. So then you have to take a stand to lose your own opportunity to something you worked very hard for, because somebody can come in with a biological advantage, and obviously people are like, oh, well, there's not enough testing on that. We don't know if men have a biological advantage. It's like, no, but no, proven, just since the history of time, I guess.
Yeah.
A transgender athlete from Yoruba Valley took home her first gold in the girls' high jump at the California High School Track and Field Championship today. A.B. Hernandez shares her first place win with two other athletes who also cleared a height of 5 feet 7 inches. Hernandez also placed second in the long jump. Her participation has drawn national attention, sparking controversy. President Trump even threatened to pull federal funding from the state. Earlier this week, the California Interscholastic Federation changed its policy.
Trump did sign something into effect that says we're only recognizing 2 genders. So I think he should pull federal funding. I think if these people, they're not going to comply, they're going to rob. I mean, this is at the high school level, but they're probably going to rob some girls of, scholarships, of athletic things that they're going to get into in college. This could help them going forward.
Either way, they're ruining opportunities.
They are ruining opportunities.
Allowed an additional student to compete and even medal in events where Hernandez qualified. We heard from Hernandez's mother after the competition today.
People need to know. People need to know, our truth. It's not always what people put out there.
See, whenever somebody says our truth, that's a pretty good indication that they're full of crap. Because there is the truth, but our truth is not. No. I guarantee you, your truth, lady, is not biological truth. And I guarantee you don't give a crap at all about the girl who didn't get to compete on the field because your kid took that girl's place.
Took that spot, yep.
There's a lot of hate being spread. Fortunately for us, AB's blessed, and there's been definitely more support, more.
And listen, I'm not opposed if this, I am opposed to this because obviously I don't think this person is 18, and I'm very much against anyone, medically transitioning anyway, I should say. I don't really care if you want to, what you want to identify as. That doesn't really bother me. Medically transitioning, I am against if you're not 18.
Agreed.
Maybe older than that even. And I'm not opposed to them. This has been thrown out there for a while too, that, listen, hey, if you want to be transgender or whatever, then maybe you should have a third league. There should be a transgender league. The problem with that is, though, they're being sold this lie that they can just seamlessly transition from a male to a female or a female to male. So they don't, it's not like Thailand. Thailand has this whole culture where there's this whole thing called lady boys, where they understand that they don't identify as female. So that's the whole difference. But with this, it's like, no, they are female now. It's like, no, you're not. So I don't know. I just think they're being sold a bill of goods. They're being failed by the adults around them. They're being failed by the school system because they don't want to insult anybody's feelings. But what is the point? What is it, like 4% of the population, maybe under that? We have to cater to their feelings, but not the 50% of women. They don't matter. It's crazy. It's like fourth wave feminism. It's come so full circle now that now men, I mean, hey, the feminists wanted this, man. They wanted to fight to vote. They wanted to fight to get in the workforce. They wanted to fight to say chivalry is dead and that women can do anything that men can do. And now the fourth wave feminism is literally, oh, you want to do that? Okay, then we'll invade your sports. It's crazy. It's come full circle.
More love than what's being told.
This isn't some complicated gray area. This is basic biology and common sense. This is the erasure of female athletics.
Yep.
The group Equity California says the CIF's new rules represent somewhat of a pilot program, being inclusive to all students. Meanwhile, Governor Newsom hasn't been definitive about where he stands, saying he understands both sides.
Well, he can understand both sides, but if he wants to make a run in 2028 for the big seat, he's going to have to take a stance on this. Because people are, I guarantee you, most of America does not want the United States to turn into California. They don't. That's why people are fleeing California in droves. I think they lose about 1 million people a year of people leaving. And the wealth gap in California it's only growing. So.
And even the Hollywood's slowly but surely leaving. I'm a firm believer they're going to start moving to different locations because they're tired of certain things that are persistent in California specifically. It's not cost effective to do any business in California, really.
No, not anymore. And they've taken advantage of Hollywood for a while by thinking it was never going to go anywhere. It's like you could start a Hollywood anywhere, really.
They could go anywhere they want. Yeah, they can build anything they want anywhere.
to comply
Your
with
Saudi
federal.
Arabia is really nice.
All right, so we're going to hear from this lady, and she's going to school this CNN anchor on why this is wrong, even though I can't believe, I mean, this was a huge debate with Leah Thomas and Riley Gaines. That's how Riley Gaines launched her whole career about, the swimming thing in Penn State. And we're still having this conversation years and years later. It's like, something's got to be done about this. Or just make a third league. But as I laid out before, we know why they don't want a third league, because they want to be accepted as women. But it's like, I don't know. I'm sorry, it's biology. I don't know what to tell you. Your truth might not align with the truth. I mean, I could go around saying, I'm 6'4", but I'm not. And wouldn't that be silly? People would make fun of me if I did that. They would. They'd be like, you're 5'10". You're not 6'4". No, but I am 6'4". I am.
I feel like it.
I feel like I am 6'4", so therefore I am 6'4". I'll go down to the DMV and I'll be like, on my driver's license where it says 5'10", cross that out. It needs to say 6'4". That's how I feel inside. And people would look at me like, what are you, crazy? But somehow this is okay.
Law to accept federal funds.
What would make this fair for her to compete, for those who are competing against her? What would that kind of structure in competition look like?
And I hate this question. I really do. You already know what is fair, but whatever she's going to say that's going to be fair, you're not going to accept. You don't want the answer of what's actually fair.
Who is her?
AB.
Okay, AB Hernandez is a male who identifies as a female. What would be fair is to have Hernandez competing in the male category. It is not fair to the females competing to have to compete with a male.
True.
Okay, so in Trump's federal funding threat, is that something, though, that would hurt all student athletes, including athletes who are assigned female at birth?
No.
Would his federal funding threat hurt athletes?
If the money is taken away.
Oh, well, yes.
Right. So the law actually says that schools that do not abide Title IX or other federal laws cannot receive federal funds. So that's not Trump's fault. The problem is that the state with AB 1266.
But you understand, Julie, there's two views here on Title IX. So just to be clear, not everyone agrees with you on how you're viewing it. So in that regard, if you were to take away the funding on as it pertains to trans athletes, not
One, it wouldn't be her taking away the funding, and it wouldn't be Trump taking away the funding. If the school has to abide by the laws of Title IX, and if you're not going to do that, then you lose the funding. This isn't complicated.
It's not someone taking it away from you. It's you not doing what you're required to do.
These journalists, they twist themselves up in a pretzel about this. Like, how can we blame the school districts? I don't. It's not even really the fault of AB Hernandez. She's being allowed to do this stuff. It's that simple. You don't have to allow it. The school is allowing it. If she wasn't allowed to do it, it wouldn't be done. Simple.
Not everyone agrees with you. I think we just have to be clear about that. If you are taking away the funds for athletes, student athletes in California, isn't that going to hurt all of them?
Taking away federal funds is going to hurt all California kids, which is why the state of California needs to comply with federal law. It's very simple.
So when you dig into the science on trans athletes, what is really clear is that there needs to be a lot more research on a lot more trans athletes to be able to draw better conclusions about the effect of whether gender-affirming care actually reduces or eliminates the advantage conferred on an athlete who is genetically male. Would you
If that were true, then there wouldn't be all these examples popping up in the past 5 years of males dominating in female areas.
How many times? It's almost every single time when they're in the men's league, they were average at best, maybe slightly above average. Very rarely getting first, second, or third place. But then as soon as they drop to the female leagues, next thing you know, they're getting first place.
Leah Thomas, I believe.
It's funny how that works.
Leah Thomas, I believe, was ranked 462nd in the collegiate level.
Perfect example.
And then went to first place. So.
And that's just one example.
That's one example, but I mean, I don't know how much, that's a great starting point.
Miss AB Hernandez was first place in the men's league.
Nope, was not.
When she did field and track on the men's league. Highly doubt. But look at that. She got her first.
No, you could actually just go from the statistics of what the men's league was able to do, because they went before or after the women's. Yeah, she wouldn't have won.
Welcome more research. Is this a situation where more research might help?
No.
I absolutely think that more research and more careful and thoughtful discussion is necessary here. Pediatric sex change procedures are very harmful, and they cause lifelong damage to children.
Yes.
And this is something that the United States of America needs to examine thoughtfully, and people need to be able to discuss openly without being called bigots and transphobes.
I don't think that at all. Actually, I think they should just ban it outright. I don't think anybody, like I said, if you're a girl, you want to think you're a boy, you want to think you're a girl, fine. You should not be putting hormones into your body, because that defeats the entire purpose. If they
especially pre-puberty, it's like, come on, what are you doing?
I don't even think, I say if you're an adult, you can do whatever you want, but I can't go and get my daughter a tattoo because she's 9. But I could put her on hormones to transition her. I mean, that's just insane. That doesn't make any sense at all. And I'm going to say a tattoo is a lot less harmful than inserting puberty blockers into somebody's body.
Phobes.
Yep, totally hear you. So there are obviously clear benefits to playing sports, to competing in sports. So when you're looking at an athlete like A.B. Hernandez, what would you have her do so that she can benefit from sporting?
Play in the men's league. Or create a third
I view
league.
A.B. Hernandez as the victim in this situation.
Yep,
I feel for him, and I feel that he has been lied to for his entire life, and it's probably very destabilizing and difficult for him right now to realize that what he's been told is not actually reality. He cannot become a girl. What he can do is compete in the male category.
Okay,
or
let's
if
stick to sports. So you say compete in the male category, or what?
Or if the state and CIF want to create a separate category for people like A.B. Hernandez, and that's something that they want to do, fine. It is not fair to female athletes who have worked their entire lives.
See, but like I said before, that will not be accepted. It will not be acceptable, because they are being convinced from a very young. I don't know when A.B. Hernandez started her transition. I don't, but they're being convinced that no, you can transition. And if they can't transition to play in the girls' sports, then they know everything is a lie and everything's going to come crashing down. That's why they can't do that. They could, but they don't want to.
We as a country need to draw a line, and I think that's definitely the line that we need to draw.
I think so.
Either play in the boys or start your own league. But you're not welcome in the girls' league. The girls' league is for biological women.
For this kind of competition, who also, by the way, cannot speak out for fear of retaliation, which A.B. Hernandez's mother has personally threatened against them. So it's very unfair for our girls and women in California to have to compete with males, have to share facilities with males, and then not be able to speak up about the unfairness because people are going to label them as bigots.
Yep.
Julie Hamill, thank you so much.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Julie Hamill over here. She is 100% correct. But like I said,
very well spoken.
You're being lied to your entire life. You're saying, hey, you can transition into a male or a female if you choose.
The CNN host tried to stop her. It's like, no, hold on. This is true. This is my message. You asked me a question. Here's the answer.
All right. I was going to play this. I don't think we need to play this one because we're running a little short on time here. I do want to visit our good friend Scott Jennings, though. Scott Jennings, he is going to be the 3rd anchor on our program soon. He pops up all the time. I'm going to start putting his face in the thumbnail. But
science behind this hasn't been studied enough or talked about enough for us to make a real full opinion. I do agree.
He has the best faces, too.
Yeah. Because he makes the faces that everyone's thinking. It's like, come on, this is bullshit. Like, this
You
is
said this
absolute
hasn't
bullshit.
Yep, yeah, he does.
Studied enough to know that, look, we've got millions of years of study. Men and women are different, and that's why it's unfair to put boys in girls' sports. We don't need to have any more biological studies. It is fundamentally unfair.
But do you see, genuinely curious, any accommodations that are reasonable? You have a 16-year-old who wants to participate in sports. In your mind, is there any way that can happen that is fair?
Of course. Have the people participate with their own biological sex. Boys in boys sports, girls in girls sports. It's worked for a very long time in this country.
But it's not that simple anymore, Scott. That's where we are. So
It's
what do you
pretty
do when it's
simple
not?
to 80% of the country.
But it's not that anymore. So what do you do with the 20%? Do we ignore them?
Yeah,
do
pretty
we
much.
Look at it?
I mean, it's an 80-20 issue.
Yes.
Everybody's ignoring that.
And you just said it was a minuscule number.
It's
if it's minuscule, why can't...
Sorry, there's echo on here. I don't know why there's echo on this clip, but
Why do we have to upend?
We don't have to. The reason why
millions
I
of
said it
people
was a
for a
minuscule
handful?
number, Scott, was because I don't think it's fair that you're scaring people at home thinking that boys are trying to compete in girls' sport by the droves.
They are.
And that this is going to
They
take
are.
over. We're scaring people at home. It's just not happening, Scott.
Talk about reports. Talk about statistics. Like they are.
I'm gonna go back real quick
It
here.
happen all too often.
I'm going back right here. Just that's what she says.
And that this is going to take over, and you were scaring people at home. It's just not happening, Scott. It's not happening.
This is like the most...
It's not happening, and he's exaggerating. So this AB Hernandez thing.
That's crazy.
It's a one-off. It's not happening. We saw it with Leah Thomas. Okay, but that was a couple years ago. Not happening. Well, I have an article here from the New York Post. Oregon athletes leave high school track and field championship podium over trans competitor video. This is AB Hernandez. This is a California story. This is an Oregon story. This is from yesterday. So it's not happening, but this is, I just found a second example very, very easily.
Yeah.
So
2 cases in 1 week.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. That's going to just do that. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but yeah, just of it, 2 Oregon high school athletes refused to share the podium with a transgender competitor at the state's track and field championships. Footage shows female students, Tigard High School's Alexa Anderson and Sherwood High School's Reese Eckerd stepped down from the high jump podium as the winners of the competition were being announced across the Eugene Stadium. Anderson and Eckerd had finished in 3rd and 4th place, while Ida B. Wells High School's trans student Leah Rose tied for 5th. Rose had competed in boys track and field division as recently as 2024 and 2023. Crowds were cheering for the athletes throughout the ceremony, and it remains unclear how the audience reacted to the protest. So again, this is in Oregon. Is it not happening? And we're going
California, Oregon.
And this was last year from the Olympics. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but Imane Khelif, who people were saying was a biological male who was competing in, the women's boxing event. She knocked out a woman in 46 seconds. The woman, I believe she was from Italy. Her name was Angela Carini. Yeah, quit 46 seconds at the Olympics. Khelif is a biological man who failed gender eligibility tests at the 2023 World Championships. Carini shouted, "This is unjust," as she slammed her headgear as the fight was called off. And she said she was pretty much hit harder than she's ever been hit before. And we got a little clip from South Park here, too, the strong woman clip. We're really at a strange time where parody just literally is becoming reality.
Yeah, I remember when South Park used to be like, oh man, that crazy stuff they put on there. Now that crazy stuff is, oh man, that crazy stuff was on South Park last week, but it's on the news this week.
But going back to this, if you said anything about it at the time, you were a bigot, you were transphobe, yada, 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 as we're going to see from this person here. Imane Khelif is an Algerian woman. In Algeria, it is not legal to change gender, so any claims saying that she's a trans woman are incorrect. Imane has experienced defeat in front of women multiple times. The rhetoric against her is not only hostile to trans women, but also degrading to many women who do not conform to normative standards of womanhood or femininity. Okay. And Imane Khelif, after winning the gold for boxing in the women's division, actually came out and said, because she was facing harassment from people online, said that she was going to sue. Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling have been named in a lawsuit filed by Algerian boxer Imane Khelif, accusing them of acts of aggravated cyber harassment. The complaint was filed to French authorities by Khelif's attorney, who says he hopes the prosecution investigates whoever it feels necessary on X. What we're asking is that the prosecution investigates not only these people, but whoever it feels necessary. If the case goes to court, they will stand trial. Booty said the lawsuit could target personalities overseas, adding that the prosecutor's office for combating online hate speech has the possibility to make requests for mutual legal assistance with other countries. Yeah, because you can't speak out against anything in Europe anymore. Europe is a totally cucked place.
Very controlling over there these days. I would not want to be a social media person over there.
I wouldn't. No, I couldn't even go to the UK because of the stuff I said. I'd go to jail. So.
هذا الشيء اللي يبين كيفية تطور خليف إيمان
You have made many statements about it. Media saying that I fully qualify to take part in this competition, except for all the bigots and all the transphobes out there. It would appear, if this is verified correctly, this is something that leaked from 2023. A blood test leaked by Olympic Press Committee member Alan Abrahamson confirms that Algerian boxer Imane Khelif is male. The test was conducted in 2023 at the request of the IBA and resulted in Khelif being disqualified from the Women's World Boxing Championship in New Delhi. Now, they were disqualified from the Women's World Championship. Somehow they were still able to compete in the Olympics, in which they won. But it says...
I'm going to say the vetting in the Olympics is not as good for some reason.
Let's see here. Says here, chromosome analysis reveals male karyotype, which would be, I believe, some form of... I looked it up before, now I forget what it is. What is karyotype?
Yeah, it's DNA. It's
DNA. No numerical or structural chromosome anomalies detected at 450 to 550 banding resolution. And here is a better image of it. The paper that proves Imane Khelif was born male will always be male, and as a male got into a boxing ring to batter females and win medals that he had no right to. This is a piece of paper that proves Khelif is a cheat, and as such should have his medal stripped from him. And it's pretty much what we just read here. You can see up here, Imane Khelif. The date on this, which is March 17th of 2023. Result summary, abnormal. Chromosome analysis reveals male karyotype. Results, XY. But, anybody who spoke out against this, what did I say? What's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? It's about 6 months.
6 months.
This was about 9 months, but...
Yep. Till the evidence comes out.
If this can be believed, though, and it seems like it's credible, because it is from the championship boxing, then everybody was right, and everyone who got up on their soapbox and said, oh, you can't do this to this, well, they were right. XY chromosomes, male karyotype, Imane Khelif.
Who would have thought?
So, in response to this, the World Boxing to introduce mandatory sex testing for all boxers, which they should have done from the beginning.
Why was that not a thing before?
This is as of 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Or 3 days ago.
And you know why this wasn't a thing before? Because transgender wasn't a thing, at least not as popular of a thing before, to the point where males are actively trying to get into girls' competitions.
I'm not really sure.
Just like they had in that interview segment with that lady who says, "Oh, this is a one-off. This doesn't happen." It happens on the world stage regularly.
I mean, it's happening at such an alarming rate now that there's so many people coming out. And I'm sure that some people do have gender dysphoria. I'm not totally discounting that. And obviously, I've said before, I don't care what adults do. If you feel, if you want to transition, I mean, that's totally up to you. I do just have a problem with it when you're taking opportunities away from women. And I do have a problem when you're doing it to kids, because I don't really believe like the whole, Jazz Jennings knew since she was 3 years old that she was transgender. I don't believe that. I think she's trans-housing syndrome by proxy. But this comes, like I said, and this is 3 days ago, from the World Boxing to introduce mandatory sex testing for all boxers. World Boxing will introduce mandatory sex testing to determine the eligibility of male and female athletes that want to take part in its competitions. The introduction of mandatory testing will be part of a new policy on sex, age, and weight to ensure the safety of all participants and deliver a competitive level playing field for men and women. The policy in the final stage of development has been crafted by a specially convened working group of the World Boxing Medical and Anti-Doping Committee. And that's true too. I don't know why you're not testing for, chromosomes when you're already testing for drugs.
You're already taking samples for, I'm sure it's a rather simple test.
No, I think it's a swab test.
Or XX,
yeah, it's literally a swab test.
Again, this should have been something that should have been done already, but
it should have been. But this is a relatively new thing.
Yeah.
Relatively new in the sporting world, at least.
Yeah, relatively new issue.
Where was it? Which has examined data and medical evidence from an extensive range of sources and consulted widely with other sports and experts across the world. In light of plans to introduce this policy and the particular circumstances surrounding some boxers that competed at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, World Boxing has written to the Algerian Boxing Federation to inform it that Imane Khelif will not be allowed to participate in the female category at the Eindhoven Box Cup or any World Boxing event until Imane Khelif undergoes sex testing. which I don't know why the Olympics wouldn't do, but they did not do that.
Yeah.
World Boxing's new policy in the interest of the testing will mean that all athletes over the age of 18 that want to participate in World Boxing owned or sanctioned competition will need to undergo a PRC, polymerase chain reaction genetic test to determine their sex at birth and their eligibility to compete. The PCR test is a laboratory technique used to detect specific genetic material, in this case, the SRY gene, that reveals the presence of the Y chromosome, which is an indicator of biological sex. The test can be conducted by nasal or a mouth swab, saliva, or blood. So lots of ways to test for it. And obviously a saliva test, mouth swab test is pretty damn easy to do. Athletes that are deemed to be male at birth is evidenced by the presence of Y chromosome genetic material, the SRY gene, or the difference of sexual development, DSD, which is what they claimed Imane Khelif has, that she had DSD, which is a difference of sexual development, meaning that, that's kind of like an in-between, like, I don't know if it's like a hermaphrodite thing, but I guess something like that. Where male androgenization occurs, will be eligible to compete in the male category. Athletes that are deemed to be female at birth, as evidenced by the presence of the XX chromosome and the absence of the Y chromosome genetic material, the SRI gene, or the DSD, where male androgenization does not occur, will be eligible to compete in the female category, which seems pretty fair to me.
Yep, that's how it should be.
I don't really see why this is such a big issue.
Based off of science and what we know about bone and muscle composition at birth, these are fair restrictions. These are fair guidelines.
Well, like I said, it's only...
There is an advantage. There is an absolute advantage based off of male composition of their bodies from birth.
Well, like I said, I only think this is such a big deal because these people are being sold a lie from the beginning that you can transition, you can become the opposite sex. And if you
They're taking advantage of a failed system, failed guideline system right now.
Well, but they're being failed as well. I really believe that they are also being failed.
They're being misled, I think is more accurate.
Because
they're being told something that really just isn't true.
No, if you're getting misled into mutilating yourself, then you are, I would say, you're failed. I mean, that's not misled. Yeah. That's a hard. I mean, that's terrible. But well, it'll be interesting to see if Imane Khelif does come out and do the swab test, because they've been shouting from the rooftops they're going to sue everybody, but they don't want to do a simple swab test to, test their genetic makeup.
One way or the other, yeah.
That'll be interesting. And we'll probably follow this. I'm sure there will be more on this story at some point. I don't know if Trump will pull the federal funding. I know he's threatened to, but he probably should. And yes, that will impact all athletes. That is true. But, it is for the protection of people. Yeah. So
clearly, if it does result in negative things for all student athletes, then us as civilians need to take that as a message and replace the decision makers in said counties that are not following the rules that are clearly laid out to them.
Yeah, I believe the saying is go woke, go broke. But all right, but that's gonna wrap it up for us today. We will be back on Wednesday with another show. Again, if you liked it, leave a like, comment, share it out to your friends, your enemies. That's pretty much all I got. Duke, anything else?
Thank you for joining us as always.
All right.
Please let us know what you thought.
We appreciate it, everybody, truly. And we will catch you on Wednesday.
Take it easy.